Welcome to a Board Gems side-by-slide show. In this video, I'll be comparing the two editions of London, designed by Martin Wallace. On the left is the first edition, which came out 2010 from Wallace's own company Treefrog Games, and on the right, 2017, a re-release and redevelopment from Osprey Games. First edition has a classic Wallace look. He always uses Peter Dennis as the cover artist for his games, and so this very much looks like and is a Martin Wallace game. The Osprey Games edition has kind of a classic look to it. Second edition is slightly smaller in 2 dimensions compared to first edition, but in terms of thickness is about the same. Treefrog games were generally multilingual. One production would service English, French, and German, for example. That's the case here, showing the board and a handful of cards and a large wall of text for the 3 languages. Spoiler alert, there is no board in second edition. That's been developed out, so you just see some of the cards, a handful of other components. Of course, it is English only. Also has a quote from Richard Ham. "Knocked it out of the park." Not the best photo, I apologize, but it does show that London 2nd edition opens like a book, has a plastic insert inside and wells for the cards, and there's 2 different size cards, a different sized wells. First edition is a simple cardboard insert, which is really all you need and is pretty standard for Treefrog games. Martin Wallace rulebooks are in a particular style. They can be quite wordy, but I generally find it easy to find what I'm looking for if I have a rules question. London is not a complicated game. It looks complicated from the rules, but I find it pretty easy to learn. Maybe just Martin Wallace's writing style matches my learning style. Second edition does try to minimize the rules a little bit, so they flow a little bit easier, I suppose, but I've found it sometimes hard to find particular information that I'm looking for. At the beginning of the rules, they describe some of the components, but there are also rules there. If you want to repeat stuff in the beginning overview, that's fine, but everything should be contained in the how to play, and there are some rules that fall outside that. Little player aid on the back, always welcome. Okay, I said that London 2nd edition didn't have a board. I lied, but it's just for storage. It has the card display, it has a score track, and it shows the ratio of poverty cubes to victory points you lose at the end of the game. London 1st edition has a map, and the map is important. Adjacencies are important. It shows the different boroughs of London. No score track. That's handled with victory point tokens. So this is the main development that's done in 2nd edition. The board was in the end a very minor part of the game, and so they decided to streamline that out. So instead of having the information on, in terms of costs and cards you draw, victory points on the board, these instead are in the form of cards. It has all the same information on the side of the card and also shows whether a borough is north of the Thames or south of the Thames and whether it borders the Thames or not. But you'll also notice that each borough card in 2nd edition has a little power on the bottom. There are no powers in 1st edition for the boroughs. These are features that previously were on cards that you could add to your tableau, and now instead they are moved onto the borough cards, which are also added to your tableau. First edition tracks scores with victory point tokens, 2nd edition with a score track. Score track is classy, I like the pawns. Whether one's better or not really depends on whether you want victory point tokens to be open or hidden. Money, including negative money, loans. I don't really have a strong opinion about the loan tokens, which are better or which are worse. The money in 1st edition are the classic Treefrog plastic tiddlywinks. They are fine. Not much to look at, I suppose. Of course, they're cardboard tokens in 2nd edition, but they're very nice looking cardboard tokens. Poverty. Cubes represent 1 poverty. Discs, and in the case of 2nd edition, little cardboard tokens, represent more poverty. The cubes are a little bit smaller in 2nd edition. The game is primarily a card game, so let's compare the cards. These are comparable cards here shown in this photo, so you can see, for example, the leather industry in the foreground. When you run your city, you gain the thing in the middle there, which would be £7, and gain a poverty cube. which in first edition is represented by a black cube, and in second edition, a black square with a plus. So how do they represent removal of poverty? Well, in second edition, it's a black square with a minus, and in first edition, it's white cubes. And I guess it might be confusing to people. They look at white cubes and go like, well, there are no white cubes in the game. What do the white cubes mean? And then you have to explain, well, they're the opposite of black cubes. Black cube means you get a black cube. White cube means you get rid of a black cube. These are guilds. Are these historically accurate guild logos? Cool if so. I guess most people wouldn't care about that sort of thing, but those have all been redone. This is a very modern style of art in which everyone is blushing. So like, look at the Huguenots in the middle there. These two guys are standing really close to each other and they're blushing furiously. I do think there's some sort of latent attraction between them that I think they need to deal with. That Wren card, the art has been redone. I'm not sure why. They also redid the art for Jewish refugees. Quite a dramatic change, actually. Some slight tweaks here. So for example, police force, previously you would give another player one of your poverty cubes. In the new edition, they rephrase it, you lose a poverty and you choose another player to gain a poverty. Same effect. The Omnibus ends up being a bit more reliant on other players. So in first edition, you get £1 for every borough that you occupy. And in the new edition, instead, anytime a player gains a borough, this card gains a coin, and then when you run your city, you activate the card, you get all the coins. Interesting change, not sure why. So one of the main reasons to have a map in first edition is the idea of the London Underground. The subway starts on the board, and then whenever a player wants to add to the subway, it has to go into an adjacent neighborhood. And there's no more adjacency in second edition. This has been streamlined away. But the train station cards end up operating the same way. You can see take £2 for each borough you own that's either to the north or to the south of the Thames. In second edition, they really improved this by putting north and south in the title. In first edition, the cards for north and south are identical except for one word in the text. It's much better in the new edition. Finally, here are some components that are unique to first edition. As I said, the underground tokens for the subway. And also these are player tokens because when a player possesses a borough, and only one player can possess a borough, they put their token in there to show that they own it. And in second edition, this has been developed such that each borough is on a card and you take the card to show that you possess it. Thanks for watching. Older games like London might still be good games. I don't know, haven't played it, but I want to. Take care.